want to teach you how to not be taken advantage of when you hire an agency. And I'm probably the best person to talk about it because I am an agency, and before this, I worked in-house for a brand that hired agencies. And before, when I worked brand side as well as now, I picked up on a few things to help you make sure that you never lose money working with an agency, but also you never get taken advantage. Because I hear all the time with other brands that, oh, I've been going from this agency to this agency and I've been burned and they're taking all this money. And that does happen. And I wish that didn't happen. I wish that it wasn't the reality of just owning a brand, but that does happen. And because my mentality is finding the right agency is like dating. You're gonna date around a bunch of crappy ones until you find a really good one. And typically that really good one is the one you go and you stay with. That is what it's like working with an agency. In fact, it's like that even when you are an employer and you're hiring employees, because anytime you deal with people, you're gonna deal with things that aren't ideal until you learn enough experience to find the good ones from the bad ones. So let's talk through what are some of those things that I think would help you in this process of how to find a good agency. Okay, so the first one, and this is very critical, is you have to know enough to be dangerous. What do I mean by that? Is if you have never, for example, run advertising before, and you're trying to hire a third party to come in and run advertising for you, you will not know the right questions to ask. You will not know, are they legit or are they not legit? And that's the rudest awakening a lot of brands have to go through, is if they don't know anything about it themselves, they will get taken advantage of more than anyone else because they don't know enough. That is why a lot of founders, I tell them, you don't have to become an expert, but you must know enough to be dangerous. You need to educate yourself enough so you can start to weed out the good ones from the bad ones, because if you don't, you will not know the right questions to ask. For example, even for me in my company, I have literally hired 80 marketers myself. I have done several thousand interviews and looked at resumes because I've done so much and I've been in this space for so long. I know how to hire anyone, and I know within 15 minutes if they are legit or not, because it's that experience. I know enough to be dangerous. You don't have to work with 80 people to get there, but I find most founders, as long as you educate yourself enough and you've been inside your ad platform, for example, and you've worked it and you had a little bit of success, you typically know enough to weed out the good ones from the bad ones. Next one, heart of a teacher. Never hire someone or any agency if they can't explain their reasoning, their process, and their logic of doing things. It is a red flag if someone won't tell you what they do and how they do it. Now, I'm not saying they have to tell you every detail, because some people may have a secret sauce, and I'm not discounting that secret sauce, but if they are purposefully gatekeeping how they do things, massive red flag. Because everyone that I know who is really, really good at what they do, when you hop on a call with them and you're interested in working together, they do not gatekeep it. Because they care about you. That's really what it's about. Is if someone's gatekeeping, they don't care about your interest, they care about their own self-interest. But if they're willing to stop and tell you their process, show you examples, it means whether you work with them or not, they just want what's best for you and they want you to be educated to make an educated decision. Next one, try before you buy mentality. What I mean by that is most people who are really good at what they do, agencies or freelancers or marketers, they typically have some kind of try before you buy thing. What that could be is that can be an audit, that could be, here, let's hop on a free coaching call, let me introduce you to my team and you guys can see this is a good fit. Because people who are really good and agencies who are really good, they care way more about their reputation and their credibility than they care about taking someone's money. So what that means is they will go an extra mile, an extra length to make sure it's a good fit. Why that's a benefit to you is because when you find the right people, you will know after that first experience or the first couple experiences if this person is 100% a fit for you or not. For my company, we have a try before you buy. What that means is anyone that wants to work with us, because all my founders, we came from the brand side, we have a try before you buy where if you want to work with us, we say, let's go on a date first. What that means is let me introduce you to my team, the team that you're going to work with, let them even do a strategy plan for you, let them make some creatives for you, all before working together, so that you go into working with us not being blind who the people are, how good they are, do you like them, do they understand your brand, do they understand your voice and tone, do they understand your business? And that's what I mean. It's like because we have a try before you buy, no one that works with us is gonna be coming into working together with a bad experience because they already know my team, how we work, how we think. And it's the great way to make sure that no one's making the wrong mistake on either side. The next one, they must be able to explain successes they've had in the past. I'm not just talking about just case studies. Some people will give references. I think that's a big bonus, but can they explain specifics around successes they have had previously? For example, my experience is that when you're working with someone who is really good at what they do, because they're so experienced, they can speak to specificities around brands in a similar situation as you and what they did to help solve that. If a brand is not getting into the weeds and the specifics of the nuance nuances of that, what happened in the past, what they did, the struggles of that brand, you should be quite cautious, because the best people that I know, whether agency or marketer, because they have so much experience and so much success, they've typically seen it all, and they can speak eloquently down to the specifics of other people who have been in your similar situation and the struggles, the hurdles, the obstacles. If someone is not willing to explain, here are some of the risks, here are some of the obstacles we're going to face together, some of the hardships we're going to face together to grow you, that's another red flag. Because anyone who is good at what they do, they don't want to make you believe this is like a get rich quick and scale to the moon. That's just not reality. People who are really good want you to understand the reality of what's going to be like working together. So make sure as you're talking to these people, these other agencies, make sure they are mentioning the good and the bad, the hard and the easy, the low hanging fruit, as well as the obstacles that you're going to have to face together. The next one is, do they come recommended? Now, have they been featured by notable sources? Do they come recommended by other brands? Do they have good reviews? Those are some of the things you should watch out for, because if they don't have any of those, that's a problem. Even if they have some good reviews and some bad reviews, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Just because someone has a bad review, it may not be them, it may be other outside circumstances. But the fact that they have some reviews, some outside presence, means that they have a reputation. Because a lot of times where brands get stuck when they hire someone is they hire someone because it's the cheapest, but that person has no reputation online. That's where you kind of get into a sticking point, because you have nothing to vet that person and review them by. So having an online reputation is a big deal that you should check it out. Check out their LinkedIn, their Instagram, check out their YouTube, check out what other people say about them, things like that. And the last one where a lot of people go wrong where they're hiring an agency is they're not really clear what they need from them and what their budget is. I can tell you from firsthand experience, some brands that come to us, we turn away now, they want to hire us, but they frankly just, they aren't making enough money to work with us. Now, we're not a massive agency that charge like an arm or a leg, not at all. But if you're a small brand, you're making like less than $10,000 a month, and you want to work with an agency who charges a minimum $5,000 or $6,000 a month, it doesn't make financial sense. And so a lot of times these brands that go and work with someone, they want the best, but they can't afford the best yet. And so what happens is, if they don't have immediate successes within the first week or two, they get into the red and they start losing money. Typically, when you're working with a freelancer or a marketer, again, if you know what you're doing, there is a certain amount of time it's going to take to get some payoff from that person. Depending on the situation and a lot of nuances, that could be in the first month, second month, third month, it could be in the first week. It just really depends on the situations. But the thing you need to understand is, a lot of people who get burned if they haven't done the previous things I already mentioned is because they need what we call a Hail Mary, meaning their business is already in dire straits, and if something doesn't magically happen in the next week or two, they're going to go out of business. That right there probably means you shouldn't hire anyone, because 9 times out of 10, if you're in a Hail Mary situation that it may not be enough time to get the results that you need, you're better off just hiring a consultant or a coach who's experienced, because they're going to be cheaper than hiring them to do it for you, to coach you what to do, because otherwise things could just spiral and get worse and worse and worse. So those are the things that I would be looking at if I were in your shoes, and I have been in your shoes. I was literally on the brand side helping vet other agencies, and obviously now I am an agency myself. Those are the things you should be thinking about when you're looking to hire an agency, because typically you may have to go through a few agencies to find the right one, unless you know the things that I've mentioned on this video. So give this a shot. If you have any questions, put it in the comments. This right here will steer you clear of losing money on agencies.